Hello, my name is Lucas. This is a bit of lit, and I want to talk about Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis. Lindsay Ellis is a YouTuber who makes critical analysis of media studies type videos. She also co-hosts It's Lit for PBS. There's a YouTube channel for that. And she's also Hugo nominated. And she mentioned last year that she is publishing a book this year, and it came out today, and I want to talk about it because I think it's pretty good. I have some gripes with it, mostly sort of first-time author woes, authorial tics, that kind of thing. Nothing major, in my opinion. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown, just to give you a hook. I think you should buy this book and read it. Make sense of it yourself, or try to get it from your library. If your library has it, please do that safely, wear a mask, that kind of thing. And leave immediately if you see someone that doesn't have a mask, because no one needs that trouble, okay? So, just find a way to get it. I have it on my Kindle, but I got a review copy. So, anyway, this story is about the daughter of a hacktivist whistleblower. I've got some notes here. Who has this thing, the broken seal, that reveals that the U.S. government has known about first contact for about 40 years from Guam. We follow Cora, who has not seen Nils Ortega, her father, for 4 or 5 years. And right at the beginning, we see that she's stubborn in some ways and willing to adapt and able to tough it out in a way, because her car that is a piece of junk has finally broken down. And so she needs to go to work. Her mother takes her there. They have a tough relationship. And a meteor hits, and the windows break, and she decides, oh, we have a minor crisis, I'm gonna leave. And that gets her into all kinds of trouble with her mother and everybody. Then the CIA comes asking them about this recent message from Nils about his family that he hasn't seen for years, and Cora lies about having no contact with her father, because she has had contact, a letter that she read and put back and sent back to him. But she doesn't tell the CIA that. Then her aunt Luciana gives her a burner phone so that, just call burner phones, don't call landlines or anything like that with this phone, or you'll need to get another one. And they will be able to tap you, phone tap you. And then they're visited by a reptoid being, and the feds arrive, and then all of a sudden nobody's really around. All sorts of crazy stuff there. I will let you read that part to fill in the blanks. She goes to Santa Cruz to find Luciana, who worked for the Refugee Organizational and Settlement Agency, which Cora thought was for people from, like, Nigeria and Iran, I believe is the other country, Iran. But no, it's for aliens. The people believe that the aliens can't communicate, but Cora tells them they won't communicate. If I got this right. I just wrote aliens won't communicate, not can't. I can't remember. I think people from Rosa believe they can't, but at this meeting, Cora says, no, they won't, because, yeah, the Reptoid, her interaction with the Reptoid put her on thin ice with them because she was saying something that didn't comply with what they understood. And, yeah, the aunt is on thin ice, too. They don't really believe her, and they're not really trusting. So she goes outside, sees the alien again, which drugs her with its creepy spider weaver orb fingers, and puts a mechanism in her ear that she can't see or feel that lets her communicate with Ampersand, who is the name of this alien. They later form a partnership to find out how one like him died, because everyone believes that he committed suicide, but Ampersand needs to find out. However, Ampersand is being chased by another being who comes in another meteor. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave that. This story has a lot to do with, whistleblowers and trust in our institutions and government, and truth being a human right, and these kind of things, and how the truth is, what is the word, commodified, and how it's dealt out to the public, and this kind of thing, and how that kind of relationship can erode trust in the government, especially when there's a whistleblower that tells people the truth that the government doesn't want people to know. And let me just quote a particularly interesting part of the book, somewhere in the middle, a little after halfway through, where Cora and Ampersand find themselves in a military base, and the Secretary of Defense comes with two wings of military officers dressed in green. And this is a conversation between Ampersand and Cora, because they can communicate with each other, because Ampersand developed an algorithm that the other meteor, I'm only saying meteor alien because I know his name, but I can't remember how to say it exactly. That's embarrassing. Anyway, I know it has a B in it, and some S's, and some vowels. Anyway, what is they can communicate, and so they're talking to each other. She's acting as interpreter to talk to the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of Defense talking to Ampersand. And the Secretary of Defense wants a way to communicate with the aliens. However, Ampersand tells them that will only lead to genocide. I will do it if you want, but it will lead to genocide. And we're more powerful. So, What has you frightened? He asked, his focus narrowing into a point. A whimper crawled up her throat, and she tamped it back down. She mouthed. These are very powerful men, she mouthed. They represent your own government, he said. Why are you afraid of your own government? At first, the question struck her as odd, considering why he and the rest of the Fremda were even on the planet Earth in the first place. Sometimes governments do bad things, including yours. That's just what it's like on this planet. So there's that. That's pretty neat. I will leave it at that. I recommend buying the book, like I said. This is the part where I drag her through the coals, I guess, for my minor gripes. She uses the word intuits a lot. And oftentimes it is actually the best word for the moment, but it is, for me, distracting. Yeah. And another thing, she uses the phrase all but a lot. And I didn't notice it earlier on in the book, but I did notice it when I saw it 3 times in one chapter, where Cora and Ampersand first make their partnership. And then I started seeing it again and again and again, not as frequently, but it had been a while by the end of the book where I hadn't seen it, and then I found it in the last chapter on, like, the first page of the last chapter, and I just thought, like, it got to the point where, and there are derivatives of this phrase that are all throughout as well, mostly early on, which has a different tone than the second half, which is fine. I think she smoothly transitions to it, but it's a little bit more comedic in the beginning. Anyway, and if you don't know what I mean by the phrase all but, just to give you an example off the top of my head, I all but explained what I mean by what I said. So yeah, intuits all but all throughout this book, and it's a little distracting. And sometimes there's this, her sense of humor comes out quite often, and some of the ways that she speaks, definitely if you've watched any of her videos, that voice, her voice comes out very strongly. You wouldn't have to see her name on the book to know, did Lindsay Ellis write this book? Because you could just read it and you would know. Yeah, there's just a lot of things, how she writes. It's mostly in the narration, but sometimes it also bleeds into the character dialogue, which I find to be kind of amateurish. But again, first-time author. Yeah, there are times where her sense of humor bleeds out from the narration into the characters, and, you know, it's like, you can, if you watched her videos, you can imagine her saying that, or she has said something almost exactly like that, with that kind of punchline that she's going for. And yeah, sometimes it is a little bit jarring because it'll be really serious, and then there'll be this weird, maybe pop cultural reference used with her sense of humor, or just her sense of humor, these kind of one-liner things. And it's a little distracting. Yeah, that's about all I've got to say in terms of complaints. Overall, really good. I'm looking forward to the second one. And I think people should check it out. Yeah. Intuits, all about pop culture references, which I forgive totally because she's trying to let you understand. This is 2007, my dudes. But when her own voice bleeds through into other characters, and not just the narration, or even when the narration gets sort of undercut by having a weird tonal shift, it is distracting. But overall, I think she has some good ideas, and she has some good payoffs with things that she sets up early on. And that's all I've got to say about this book. Go check it out. Just came out. Goodbye.